Only need one thing, only need one thing, only need one.
Have you seen our creative bulb?
Okay, add it to my cart. You've got the camera. We've got everything else. Shop Godox SA for your production equipment.
Well, welcome to Getting to Grips and another live show brought to you by Godox SA and Golden Power Batteries. So before we actually get started, it's a bit lonely in studio today because it's only myself and Talia. Talia's on the switcher. She's going to be monitoring the stream and all the comments and all of that type of stuff as they come in. Any questions, please feel free to ask them throughout the show. If we don't get to it, I will definitely get to them afterwards. So with Talia, she's going to be monitoring those. Also, a big shout out to Tamba Broadcast Systems for the ATM switcher. They are our sponsors for all of our broadcasting stuff that we actually do online. So a big shout out to them because it wouldn't be possible without having their assistance and their equipment. So it's really awesome. Also, what we're going to be doing today is going to be something a little bit different. I'm going to be going through basically the equipment that I'm going to be using as well as the actual setup. So I'm going to be doing two setups. One where we're actually going to light this LowKey bottle or wine bottle with just one light. All we're going to do is a slight change in the actual setup which we're going to do to be able to give us two images so we can then actually do some post work and show you how that's done, and then we'll do the other setup. So in what the equipment are we going to be using? So I'm going to start off with the actual lighting that I'm going to be using first. So behind I've got the Octabox there, which is the 1200. So I want a nice wide softbox. I often use a rectangular softbox when I do these things, but I thought let me try the Octabox. So it should be quite an interesting one. I've got the AD400 Pro in the back of that. So these are the AD400 Pros. Okay, these lights are actually very versatile. I really like these on the fact that I can have a Bowens and a Godox mount on the actual same light. Sometimes I use two modifiers at once on these lights, especially when I'm using gels and stuff like that. So that is a very good thing for me. Also, they're battery powered, so we can take these out. Now I see a lot of comments and stuff online, so these are the actual batteries that you need to get for the AD400 Pros. If you looking at getting any other ones that say they're compatible with the 8400s, don't waste your time. Let's get something that's guaranteed and that you can get from the suppliers here from Godox SA. Right, what else about the 400, the 8400? It does have the battery, but it does have also the AC400. So this is actually your, if you want to plug it into the mains, you can do that. Mounts on just like a battery does. There you go. That looks like a lot longer, which it is. Plug it into the mains. You switch on, but then you still have to come and switch on the side of that. So it's quite nice if you actually got a studio where you're using a lot of these lights and you want to use them on mains. With our load shedding schedules at the moment, you can use these quite easily without a problem. So that's going to be my main light. The other light for the other setup I will bring in a 8300 Pro, and I will actually bring in some other equipment as well. But what I'm going to do first, how am I going to trigger these lights? So triggers that we use in the studio, obviously we use the X Pro 2C, so we've got these, and our new addition, if I can get there you go, there's our new addition, the X3C, which we're going to be using tonight. So it'll be probably the third shoot, but will be the first live that we'll be actually using this. And I'm going to show you some of the cool functions that this actually has, which I found quite cool. And it comes in a nice little case inside. There you go. There's got a nice little thing. You can put a lane out on there. Yes, this is Cinema EOS for our Canon friends out there. So let me just open this up and show you how small this thing is. There you go. This is it. There is your X3. So it's quite compact, but it's amazing how much detail and stuff is actually on the screen for you to actually use. And it's simple to use. There's your test button on the side. We have our on-off button there. You got your settings, your menu settings, and then you have this little dial here, which is a little push and turn left and right or up and down, depending on what way you're using it, and that you can change on your settings. So sometimes I find this actually quite cool, because sometimes if I want to actually drag with my fingers are a bit fat, and so I prefer to use a little dial on the side, which I'll show you that. So starting this up, comes up with a nice little Godox logo, and there is the thing. So I'll go through this once we're actually doing the changing and the settings for the lights. I'll go through and show you what things I've found quite nice on this little gadget. It's a nice to have, and it's very useful. So I'm going to put this actually on my camera, and also, before I forget, this button on the back. So this is actually to release your locking pin. So when you push that in, when you push this onto your camera, make sure you actually push that in and push it onto your camera. You don't want to break this locking pin on the front. And I think I did a video where with the flashes, where people sometimes they just force something onto a camera, and before you know it, the pin is broken. All right, so let me go through. I'm going to set up the first set of items. There's going to be a number of items that we're going to actually be using. So there's things like templates that I like to make and cut. We're going to be using a diffuser panel. I'm going to put the table and everything in place. So if there's any questions about any of the Godox stuff that you've seen so far, just drop them in the comments. I'm going to set up the table and the diffuser. Okay, so I've just got this camping tables. As you can see, they get knocked around a lot. All right. The diffuser I actually put in front, even though this octabox is actually got inner diffusion and the outer diffusion, I still put on a diffuser to actually give me a little bit more gradation and spread on the actual bottles themselves. So it's very useful and gives you a different look. And then you can actually zoom. You can actually zoom. I'm just going to put this one up here. Right, I just want to make sure that is in the middle. Let me just go behind here. This is where you need an assistant in studio so you can not do all this stuff. Okay. All right. So roughly the octabox is in the middle of the diffuser, I think. Not quite. Just a little bit more. The actual octabox behind is roughly around about 50 mils, somewhere around there. So it's actually 50 millimeter away from the diffuser. So that's a good starting point. You can actually use your zoom to go in and out of your actual setup by just moving the light backwards, moving the light closer to the diffuser. That will give you a different look and the way the light actually rims around the edge of the bottle. So we'll play around with that once we get that ready. Okay, so with that stuff in place, the next thing I need is my perspex. So I use, just like when I do the e-commerce, I have a black one. So this is just I think it's a 1 meter by 700 cut of black perspex, which I'm going to be putting in on top of the table. Right. So with that in place, that is all of that stuff done. The other things I actually do before I actually bring in the bottle, I'm going to show you what I use to create. So this is just a piece of cardboard. It's got a bit of black background paper just stuck on the actual cardboard itself. So this is actually a trace around the bottle. If I bring up the bottle here, there's your bottle. So I actually traced around the bottle and then did a cutout. It's around about anything between, say, about 10 mil more than the actual bottle width itself. So 10 mils this side, 10 mils this side, and the same for the neck of the bottle, and then obviously flush to the bottom. So when the bottle stands in front of it, we actually have that. So we actually see black around the actual bottle itself. And that's going to come in handy when we start doing our post-processing as well. So you'll see that in action. So what we're going to do is I'm going to also shoot a glass as well. So I did the same for the glass as well. Now obviously these cutouts are pretty unique to this bottle because all bottles are different shapes. So whenever you are doing this type of thing with a bottle, just redo your templates if it's a different brand or if it's a different wine, just to make sure that you've got the right shape. Okay. Now let me get this in place. So what we're going to do is I'm going to put this right at the back here. I'm just going to lean it against the diffuser, and then I'm going to get my gloves on because I don't want fingerprints on the bottle, even though we probably won't even see those fingerprints because it will be very dark. Because I'm going to be shooting around about f16, somewhere around there, f14, f16, and I'm going to be shooting at an ISO of 50. So I really want that real low-key, very fine light around the actual bottle itself. Right, let's just get this bottle in place. All right. Another couple of things that I also do, I mean, I've learned this sort of technique from other photographers over the years. I think Karl does this type of thing. I think Daniel Norton did something very similar, but it's a great concept. And the reason I'm doing it is because I had people ask me, but I only have one light. Can I do it with one light? And I said, yeah, I'm sure you can. So I played around with it. And that's why I'm going to do this first shot, or this first setup and first edit with just the one light. Now I'm going to be probably having the backlight, the 8400. I'm probably going to be having it set to around about probably about 1/16, 1/8, 1/16, around about there, which we'll play around with. Another thing is, these polyboards, they are just offcuts from my uprights, because when I bought these, I think they were like 3 meters or 3 meters long or something. So I just use these little panels as flags. Because we're shooting directly into the actual light, we want to try and restrict any flare coming back from the actual light itself. And there's no reason why there's black tape on the backs here. I don't even know why I have it there. So just in case that's a question, I'm not really sure. Okay, so I'm going to get these, I'm going to put these probably about 100 millimeters in front of the actual bottle. Okay. So that is going to be our first shot, our setup for the first shot. Now, the bottle, I've just got enough space between to actually shoot the camera there to actually get the shot. These flags are going to stop a lot of the flare coming around. The actual back cutout will actually help with keeping the light so we can actually get that light wrap around, and we still have a black outline. So when we actually in post, we can actually make sure that we don't touch or go into the actual bottle. Okay, so, but we'll do that just now. Let me turn on the backlight. Yeah, so the backlight is on 1/8 power. So we're going to start there, because obviously I had it set there for a reason. Any questions so far? Let me tell you what I'm shooting with. Okay, I'm shooting with the Sigma 70-200 f2.8 lens, my trusted Canon 60, and obviously my new X3C trigger. All right. Let me just get this into position. I'm going to shoot these on portrait, or I'm going to just turn the camera around. Right. Let me just get this. Just going to put some extra lights on here so we can actually just see what we're doing. So, I'm going to just crouch down so you guys can see over the top of my head, because I don't think you'll be able to see too much. Take the lens cap off. It's an important thing as well. If you want to get a decent picture, take the lens cap off. All right, so I'm going to lower down a bit. All right, so the first shot I'm actually going to do, let me get my capture one up. So I'm actually going to be operating the computer on this side instead of Talia today. All right. Have I got? Does help. I think my battery. Let me get a new battery. Because I was shooting with this today, so let me just get that battery in, and there we go. Okay, so I'm going to make sure the trigger is off just to take a shot, and we should have, if I click on that, we have a black frame, so that's cool. Right. Going to put the X3 trigger on. All right, so I'm just going to press the test switch. Everything's working there. Take the shot and see what we have. I don't know how much you can see on that screen. Let me just see on the big screen there, because I can see quite a lot. There you go. So that gives us at least, I think the screen is showing on, or the extended screen is showing a lot darker than what it is. But if you actually look down the side, you get a nice full rim of light. I'm just going to move make sure that this thing is sitting level, because it's important to actually have enough space around the bottle when you need to actually edit. Let me take another shot. Yeah. And then what I'm going to do is, I'm on F16, I'm going to go down to F14, and I'm going to 1/60th of a second. I always focus on the actual label, on the brand's logo. Okay, so that's cool. So I'm happy with that. Maybe let's just do a little bit of reflection in there. Let me just check on the actual screen. Yeah, so that's cool. I'm happy with that shot. So we've got no reflection from any of the video lights in there. We've actually got no reflection from these white sections inside. If you actually overexpose it just a little bit too much, because these are white on the inside, I mean, it'd be ideal to actually paint them black on the edges. That could actually possibly create a reflection on your actual bottle, which you don't want. Okay, so we need to actually make sure that none of those reflections are in the darkness of the bottle, just to cut out any additional Photoshop work that we don't want to do. Okay, so we've got that shot there. Now, because we're only going to be using the one light, how are we going to light the label? Because that's what we need to actually make sure we do now. So everything I just said about the ugly reflections, we're going to get some ugly reflections now. So I'm going to turn it over so the whiteboard is facing inwards. So when that backlight actually fires, the light's going to bounce on those boards and it's going to create there. Already I can see that the label is a lot brighter just by having the boards actually there. But what it's going to do is going to give you some very ugly reflections on the actual glass of the bottle. But because we're going to fix that in post, where we're going to have our first shot, and then we're going to have a layer, and we're just going to brush in where we want the label to come through. So that is how we're going to conquer the one light, low key light setup. All right. Yep, there's those very ugly, bring that across there. So we do have reflections in there, believe me. I can see it on the computer, maybe the screen online is not showing them, but there is some very ugly reflections actually in the actual image itself. But the label has got light in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to export these two files out, or I'm going to just copy the raws, and I'm going to bring them across into Photoshop, and then we will actually do some of the editing, and then we can actually then do setup number 2. But the editing is going to be pretty similar. It's just one part we don't have to do when we do the 2 light setup. It would have been this one and this one, I'm sure. Let's see if I can open them from there. Yeah. Okay. Right, so what I'm going to do is on this one, just going to bring the label up a little bit, and we're going to bring the highlights up a little bit. So we've actually got the label lit now. There's some very ugly reflections in here, which you probably can't see on your screen, but I can see it's got reflections here and everywhere, which I don't want to keep. I'm just going to bring up a little bit on this one. May look a bit dark on your side. If I bring it up too much, it looks too harsh on mine, but let's do what we need to do. I'm going to select both of these images at the bottom and actually say open. So I'm just going to open my two raw files up. Okay, so we've got the one that we lit where we turned the boards around and reflected. Then we actually have the one where we just shot without any lighting up of the actual label whatsoever. Alright, so I'm just going to make a copy of this one, just hide the background, make a copy of this one, hide that background. I'm going to take this layer and I'm going to bring it over to my one here. Now I was shot on a tripod, so hopefully it should actually be lined up, but you never know these things. So I'm just going to make sure that these are lined up. think that's about right. So I'm gonna make this one with the label lit up, which doesn't look very lit up on this screen, but I'm gonna make this one layer mask hide all. So all I'm actually using now is a brush. This is now black because it's hiding all. So I make sure that my brush is actually going to be using the white. We can then make sure the hardness is nice and soft. Give that brush a bit of a bigger brush and probably just get the logo in. And then it. And the same type of thing that we're going to do now is actually brush in the black on our. So I'm going to set the hardness. And then I'm just going to bring me around about 180 for now. I'm just going to set the color of the black there. Get my brush. Zoom in a bit. So here you can actually see that's where this here is actually where this mask has actually overlapped. So we'll just make sure that is away. And I'm going to make this smaller, come in tight. All the matter just come in there. Zoom out. And we're probably going to get that light area there where we brush. We're going to get rid of that just now. So once that painting is done there, I'm just going to go to this layer and just hide where that lighting of the label came in. Then I'm going to adjust my curves. I'm going to do my levels. I want to make sure these blacks are blacks. Okay, and then I'm going to export this one out. And then I'll post both of these actually on Facebook so you guys can see. I'll just post it in on onto the Facebook side. So I'm going to just put this as single light setup. Oop. Just put it into the desktop. Okay. I think there you can actually see those ugly reflections that are actually in this file, which I could see in Photoshop. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to post those onto Facebook, and what happens. So let me get in touch with the setup number 2. So I've got the images for setup 1. I'm just going to turn these back to where they were. So setup number 2, as you can see, is pretty much the same type of thing. We're going to be shooting through the space of the bottle. All right. What I'm going to be doing now is actually bringing in the second light. So what second light are we actually using? So I'm going to be using an 8300, but before I get onto that, I'm going to show you what attachments we're going to be using on the 8300. So this is the, if you have the BFP, then great, because it's just going to make your life a lot easier. So this is the actual SA-P. So this is the actual projection unit for like the S30, S60, I think it is. And these are great tools. These are great tools to actually have in your studio. And then what I have done is I've got the framing blades in here. Now I'm going to try and see if I can pull one of these out. Okay, so this, if you're lucky enough and you can find these or get these things made up for yourself, then these are great. These, I think they're the SA007 or 07 on the Godox list. But if you can get them, then it took me a while to find these and make use of it. But I'm telling you, it is a mission, because you have to now get everything in position. And with the BFP, now the BFP, you actually have all this built in. So your framing blades and everything is all built in on the new Godox BFP and the BLP units. So what do the framing blades do? So the framing blades are actually going to create, I don't know if you'll put this in front of the camera, you can actually see there's a hole there. Now I can close this up completely so no light actually goes out. So this is for when you want to actually put some very specific amount of light onto a certain object. So doing your product photography, that's how we're going to light the label. And the nice thing about it is I can actually open this up to be quite small. I'll look there, which we'll set in. So I can actually open that up to actually be just enough to what we have on the label. I'll set it so it's quite sharp, so we can probably try and zoom in and show you what it looks like on the label. And then using these two, we can actually defocus and focus the actual light. So it'll give it a more blurred. So if we defocus the light, it will give us a nice blur. If we sharpen it, it will give us a very hard light shape to whatever our framing blades is actually giving us. So that is that part number 1. Just going to put that down there. Then the next part, for us to be able to use the SAP unit on the bow ends mount, is the SA17. So this has basically the mount for the, got these gloves on, everything's slippery. So it has these mounts on the front where the actual projection unit actually slots in, holds in there, and then we just lock it in place. And then it has your standard bow ends mount that's on the back. Now you can use this for your 8200s, your 8300s, your 8400s. Your 8400s bulbs fits in there. Your 8600 doesn't fit into the SAP17 or the SA17. So the BFP is designed for the 8600s, the 8200s, the 8400s, all to fit on that unit. So this will only work with your smaller strobe bulbs up to the 8400 Pros. So just bear that in mind on that one. So to get this into place, we just move the locking mechanism. You'll see that this has actually almost got like a little groove, and that's where this actually slots in to place. Then we just put the locking mechanism over. So if you're using this and it's upside down, then this is actually all going to hold on there. So that is in there securely. Now to light the label, a couple of things that I've noticed when I'm doing these type of things is some of these labels are actually quite reflective. So if you point a light sort of level at that, you're actually going to get that band of light on the actual label. So what we're going to do is we're going to set the 8300 to be high up and just come down and focus in onto the actual label itself. Alright. Right, so we got, let's just put it, see if we can get away with it there. I might need to just move the boards a bit. So I'm going to put this in. Till we hear the click. All right. So this may look like a massive sort of vaporizing gun that you would see in Men in Black. I had the boards running about 100 mil in front. All right. Let's get this one and see if we can hit the label. So I'm going to turn the 8300 on and I'm going to put the modeling lamp on. Okay. So I can see, I don't know if you guys will be able to see, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to zoom in with this camera. So if you want to take me around to camera 4, I'm going to just use this main camera to actually zoom in. So I think that is there. So what I've done now is I've just zoomed in the other camera. So Tally, do you want to bring that camera 2 over so we can sort of see what's happening there? So you'll actually see there's a dot of light that's actually over here. You can put me onto camera 2, Talia, because I'm going to use the... Okay, so here, there's the dot of light. That is actually from our projection unit. I'm just going to sharpen this a little bit. So you can see what the shape is. And then I'm just going to turn the actual unit so we can get this to be in on the actual bottle. All right, so the bottom one will actually control the bottom one will actually control the actual top, and then the one on the top will control the one on the bottom. And I think this is where these things get a bit of a pain to use. So what I'm going to do now is just defocus that light. All right, so those little dots of light that you actually see on the close-up here is actually from the video lights. So these ones here are actually from the video lights that's at the back, which I'm not going to really worry about because we won't see those in the shot. Okay, so I'm going to now... Okay, so when you push the button on the side, that allows you now to select the item. I'm going to take these gloves off. That was a test switch. Let me just take... So down the side, this actually enables you to go up and down to all your different groups and stuff like that. So this is quite cool. So to actually put this actually on, you could tap into it. You'll see that this channel is actually paused, meaning that it's off. If I put that on, it then comes on and tells me that it's now active. The modeling lamp is running at 100%. Now, if you actually put the modeling lamp, if you go into the modeling line settings on the 8300, and you can play around with this here, you'll see you can actually fine tune your percentage of your modeling lamp. So you can actually take it right down. You'll see, I think on the bottle there, you'll see it brightening and stuff. So that's quite cool on the fact where you got that nice control now on your modeling lamp. If you want to now change the TTL, you just click on the M for manual, or so you can actually change the modes. If you want to now change your power, you can select and just turn the little knob there to actually change your power settings, set it, and everything is good. Go back to the menu. If you just want to now go in, you'll see there's like a line on the edge here. That tells you that you can actually go back. Now you can swipe, or you can actually select where that line is and push the button and it goes back. So it's got some cool functionality. I must say I was a bit suspect with the small screen and stuff, but I lost focus on there you go. But it actually works. It works actually quite well. So that's a little bit about the X3 trigger. So I'm going to put this back on my camera. Let me just turn it off quickly. So we've got the white bar, the wine bottle there now. We've got the light actually on the label. So I'm actually going to take a shot. I'm just going to move my camera over. Okay, so I'm going to actually go to our last one we shot. I'm just going to open it up in Photoshop. I'm just going to take a seat here quickly. You don't have permissions on the profile. Okay, let me copy it across to the actual Mac desktop. And then open it up with Photoshop. Yeah, it's very dark on this screen compared to my screen. But what we'll do is we'll just edit it. Now, if I take up the exposure too much, it's going to really blow out mine. But I will do it. Bit of contrast, highlights, bit of whites. Okay. I'm quite happy with that, even though it looks terrible on the actual output on the screen, but I'll definitely post the finished, because the shadows look very dark in here compared to my screen. But okay, so the actual cutout, remember I said the cutout was important, that there was actually some black that was actually around here on the actual white. So what I'm going to actually be doing is getting hold of a brush, and we're going to just get that color, and I'm just going to put this on a bit of a tighter hardness. And we're going to paint and obviously you'll be able to zoom in a little bit. You can change your hardness a little bit more just to make sure that we don't touch the edge of the bottle. Okay, so I'm going to paint everything down, even down onto the actual acrylic. And I just make my brush a bit smaller and just brush in on the side there. And make it a little bit bigger now, because we definitely have more on this side. Okay, so there we have the bottle. Even though it looks very dark on that screen, but I will do a post just now of this, and I'm gonna now get my curves. Just it looks terrible on the screen. That's something I think I used the. I think it's the collaboration of the screen. Okay. So that is the one wine bottle. Let me just export this out, because it looks absolutely terrible on that screen. I'm just going to export it out. I've got an action that I use just to do an export out to Facebook, and stuff there. And then what I'd often do is also just take my brush, take it down the softness, and then I just sort of brush in on the bottom there, just to give that finished look. Export out, and I'm going to put it max, and it's 2048 for Facebook, and I'm going to export it to the desktop. Right. Okay, so I'm just going to go back onto, let me just get back onto that. So that one is exported out. So that is that. So if we were going to actually do the glass, which, so I'm just going to show you a picture of how light this liquid has to be. So this is just water with a bit of food coloring in. Has to be quite light. If that goes too dark, you won't get that red element that you want in the shot when you're actually taking a picture of the actual glass. So the glass actually gets set up exactly the same. It's just that we have a different template. So we have this at the back. Now I normally use my gloves when I'm doing this because otherwise you get fingerprints, but because it's going to be quite dark, I don't think we will actually see them. Just want to get the glass centered. So the important thing is to get these cutouts actually done, and we won't need this now. So I can turn off that light. All right, so I'm going to try and now shoot. You probably won't be able to see what comes up because I've unplugged the Capture One camera machine. I'm going to see if I can bring it up on the let's see if I can bring it up on the actual camera itself. And also this water's been standing in, so it's actually created bubbles. So I'm going to unplug the tether cable because I'll see if I can show from this side. So it looks a bit blown out on the back of the camera because obviously the camera's trying to get the right exposure. But that is, so you get the outline of the glass. Now, the reason you shoot these separate is so when you actually put them together, you've actually got the cutout there. You're centralizing your shot, your focal length, you're keeping the same. So keep that in mind as well when you shoot this. And then just in Photoshop, drop the glass in next to the bottle. You might want to put the glass slightly overlapping the bottle. So that's why you would actually shoot it a bit separate. You'll shoot each shot separate so you can actually build that composite image up. Godox equipment you need, like the 8300s, the X3 triggers, 8400s, any modifiers, anything that you need from Godox, you can get from godox.co.za. It's www.godox.co.za. Use my code, you can get an instant discount on that. And I'm sure that is on the screen already there. Also, on the 27th of July, Ash and myself will be at Kloppers in Pretoria. Make sure you come through, and even if it's just to say hi, come through, have a look what we're doing. We've got some awesome Godox gear that we're taking with us, and we're going to be setting up there and doing all sorts of cool and funky things on the 27th. So please make sure you put that in your diaries and meet us there, and we'll see you on that. And then also any free basic training. Please have a look at what Godox is offering on free basic training, because if you have an area that actually has enough people signing up, Godox SA will actually come to the area or close by, a sort of a main section close by to that area, and have you guys and give you some awesome workshops. Please, there's no other brand that actually does this. Okay, they actually pour in a lot of effort and funds to actually supply you with the best content and the best guys out on these workshops free workshops as well as paid workshops, and it's a full weekend, so make sure you sign up and get as many people in your area to actually sign up for the free basic training. So, and also Thursday night live will be Pakamani on F-Stop Live. Make sure you tune in. Awesome shows, and he has some real awesome guests, and he's really rocking the F-Stop Live stuff at the moment. It's been great to actually watch. And then also don't forget to subscribe to Godox SA's YouTube channel. Follow Godox SA there. Make sure you click on the subscribe and be notified of anything that actually comes up. So that's it for now, and as I said, I'll do a pre-recorded video and stream it out because I think there was some interruptions on the actual stream. So don't worry about that. I will get this out and restream the actual recording. All right, thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon.
I want the sun.
Operation Night 2D.
Copy that.
Only your future is brighter than us. Shop Godox